Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gretchen, and today I want to take a few minutes to talk about my experience with judging the BookTube Prize for the quarterfinal round. So if you follow my channel, you'll know that I did sign up for the first time this year to be a judge for the BookTube Prize. And I did not get selected for the first round, but I did get chosen as a judge for the quarterfinal round. And there were 6 books that were in that round for me to read and then ultimately rank in my order of preference. And then that is how everything is tallied. Those ballots are submitted, and then that group of 6 is whittled down to the top 3, and those 3 move on to the next round. So the quarterfinal round just ended, and I was also selected for the semifinal round. So I have moved on to this next grouping, and there are some books in there that I haven't read yet that I'm going to talk about today, so you know what I will be reading for it. However, what I will say is I wasn't sure, because I didn't get picked for the first round and this is my first year doing it. I wasn't sure if I would get picked for the semifinal round. So kind of in my head, I was planning on, after the quarterfinal round being over, coming on and talking about all of the books and giving you specific details of my ranking and my thoughts on each of those books. But since I got selected for the semifinal round, there are some books that are carryover that are in my current round. And if you remember, one of the kind of rules about being in the BookTube Prize, or as being a judge in the BookTube Prize, I should say, is we're really not supposed to talk in depth about the books that we are reading. So because I have some carryover, I'm not able to talk about all of the books that I read during the quarterfinal round. But we are going to talk a little bit about some of them, just to give you kind of an update and kind of close that quarterfinal round out. And then what I'll also do is tell you those new books that I have to read for the semifinal round. So as a reminder, the books that I was judging for the quarterfinals, I was in Group A, were Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst, Caledonian Road by Andrew O'Hagan, The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich, James by Percival Everett, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, and There Are Rivers in the Sky by Alif Shafak. The winners for this round that are moving forward are Our Evenings, James, and There Are Rivers in the Sky. So unfortunately, I can't talk about any of the winners because they have made it through to the next round. But what I will say, as far as my preference, I had my number 1 and my number 2 books make it through. You know how I feel about one of them. It's no surprise that one of the books in my grouping was one of my favorite books from last year. And as far as 3 through 6, I really struggled to decide on what order of preference I enjoyed these books. I was really blessed because I had a grouping in which I thoroughly enjoyed all of the books that I read. All of them were great books that I would recommend, and they're also books that, depending on which day you would ask me, my list would switch around. So the fact that my first pick and my second pick definitely made it through to the next round, I was happy with any of those other 4 books being third. So yeah, I think that overall it was a really successful round for me, and I'm really happy with the results. Now, as far as the books that got eliminated, I already talked about 2 of them on my channel at some point, The Mighty Red and Intermezzo. So I'm not going to go into great detail about them, but I will say that I do recommend both of these books. I know that Sally Rooney is not an author for everyone, but she is a favorite writer of mine, and I think honestly, if you've ever enjoyed any of her books, that you're going to get along with Intermezzo too. I also think that The Mighty Red was a fantastic book. Erdrich is a tremendously talented author, author, and she is another one of those authors that anytime there is a new book that she's releasing, it's going to be one that I'm going to pick up, and I know that I'm going to get something out of it. So even though they didn't make it through, they're still both really good books. The third eliminated book, which is Caledonian Road, this was my first read from this author. And as far as the book goes, Caledonian Road is a really plot-heavy book with a huge cast of characters, but it primarily centers around one man. His name is Campbell Flynn, and Campbell is a middle-aged art historian and author. He has previously written a popular book about an artist. If I'm remembering correctly, it was Vermeer, and he is in the process of getting another book published, but the type of book doesn't actually fit his wheelhouse. It's kind of a male self-help type book where he's usually writing these more artsy and academic type books. So in order to kind of protect his reputation, he decides that the book is not going to be released under his name, but they're going to work to try to get a famous male celebrity to claim that he has written the book so that it sells better, and also to kind of keep Flynn's reputation in the academic community where it still needs to be. Along with the plot surrounding his book, we also start to learn more about the people in Campbell's life. So we have his wife, Elizabeth, through her sister. She has ties to the royal family. We also have their two successful adult children. Campbell's best friend is also a public figure in the UK, and this friend becomes entrenched in this scandal that will ultimately ruin him. Campbell also develops a close relationship with one of his students, and this student has ulterior motives and exposes Campbell to some really dangerous people and gets him into some trouble. And I could really go on and on and on about all of the subplots in this novel. There is so much going on and so much to keep track of, but for all of that, it was a really entertaining read. And once I started to get into all the drama and the pacing of the story, for as long as this book was, because it was very long, I think it was between 600 and 700 pages, it ended up being a really fast-paced read for me. This book touches on so many themes, too many to mention, but my biggest takeaways from this book were about wealth and power and privilege, and how all of those things can be fleeting. No matter what you build your status up to, it is never guaranteed. This book also highlights the corruption that comes with both wealth and poverty. Wealth has a way of making people sometimes feel like they are immune to consequences or above the law, whereas poverty can make people feel desperate and vulnerable, and they can be drawn to danger that promises a way out of their situation, and both of those can lead to criminal behaviors. This book also touches on family and loyalty and what ends up happening when the people that we love do things that we don't agree with or that don't align with our moral values, and how other people's bad behaviors and actions can destroy their loved ones in the process. There's just so much to unpack with this novel, and it truly was a very entertaining read. Now, as far as the writing goes, I don't think it was anything spectacular, but what I will say is that O'Hagan is a solid storyteller, and I would definitely read from him again. My only complaints about this book, there are two of them, and I think that each of them probably contributed to why this book didn't make it through to the next round. First and foremost is, I already mentioned, it's a long book, and it can be quite intimidating for some readers. And then the second is that there were way too many characters to keep track of. This book had so many characters that there was actually a list of characters at the beginning of the book, which kudos to O'Hagan for having the foresight to put that in there, knowing that that was a lot to keep track of. And I used it several times. I found it to be very helpful, but I counted how many characters were listed and there were 59 of them. So that's a lot of characters. But aside from that, it was a solid read, and I would definitely recommend it for anyone that loves a good plot-heavy drama. And on a side note, sometimes, you know, if you watch my channel, I also like movie and films. I think that this would make a great TV adaptation, maybe a limited series. I don't think it's something that could be stretched over multiple seasons, but I definitely think that it could get a nice, like maybe 8 episode run. But yeah, I would love to see something like that happen for this book. I really enjoyed it. So now that this round is over, I'm looking forward to the semifinals. There are only 12 books left in the running for the entire fiction prize. So I have 2 groups to show you. We have Group A. So we have My Friends, Our Evenings, Glorious Exploits, Wandering Stars, James, and Long Island. And then for Group B is the one that I will be judging. We have Behind You is the Sea, Sip Well, Martyr, There Are Rivers in the Sky, Clear, and The God of the Woods. Now, I have already read in my grouping Martyr, There Are Rivers in the Sky, and The God of the Woods, so there will be at least 3 new reads for me, and I'm really looking forward to getting to them. All 3 of those books that I haven't read are ones that have been on my radar, and I'm really happy to have an excuse to read them now. So yeah, they are books that I already have in my possession, so I'm going to try to get to them as soon as possible. I really want to try to get them done and out of the way, not like it's a chore, but I want to make sure I get them done because, as you all know, I follow the Booker Prize, and I'm going to start to be doing content for the Booker soon, mainly coming up with a list of my wish list and predictions for the long list, and then I'll try to do the long list book reviews for each of the books that does end up making it onto the long list. So that is going to be happening in July, so I want to make sure that I get all of the BookTube Prize stuff done so that I don't have to compete between certain books. So yeah, thank you so much for following me on this BookTube Prize journey. It's been a lot of fun so far, and I would love to hear from any of you that are judges as well, whether you're a judge for this current round or you participated in the last round, and hear your thoughts about the books that are still in contention and which ones you think are ultimately going to make it through to the final round. So that's all I have for now. I will probably be checking in periodically just to let you know which books I'm reading, remembering that I can't talk about them until the round is over, but hopefully we'll still have some good discussions about these books at some point in time. And until we read again, bye!